Scoop. This is Justin Scoop on Thursday, October 23rd, 2025. Take a look at SPX. So we continue to move back up after yesterday's lower wick. So we did continue to have some buying. Opened up a little bit, but we actually kind of ran quite a bit. And then I think we were chopping right around where this line is. So I'm going to kind of estimate maybe 67.20. 67 teams. So let's go see. Do we pause there? Um, we kind of ran right through it and then pulled back. It today just didn't seem like it was really moving too crazy. So obviously we were holding the 100 and then came back into it over here. I couldn't really get a clean up angle other than the 100. I mean, then you had kind of this, but you had some breakout over here, and I feel like we drifted above it and then came back in. So there's probably a pretty clean upper bound through all of this. Um, but then, yeah, you had a big bear candle here, four bear candles selling here, and then not really much selling until the end of the day. So a lot of this was just some strength and then going sideways. I feel like we've seen something like this pretty recently. What I did want to look at is if we zoom out on here. So this just continues to fit the framework. Need the drawing tool back. Continues to fit the framework that we've got some sort of like, was it really bad? Lower angle. There you go. That was better. Like that. And then that's too shallow. Something like that. And then I think I kind of did a little dotted midline. So I feel like we're right back into this midline. Um, I glanced over at futures. They're up a little bit, not much. But we're right back. We're pretty much right back into this high where I was saying on this day, we don't have much room to all-time high. And so again, if we gap up for Friday, we only have a little bit of room here before we're at all-time high. Um, so from 67.38 up to 67.64, it's less than 20 points. It's a really small range if we open there. Now, if we gap up into this range in between here, we could retest. It's a bullish candle today, so a gap up would be a bullish retest gap. Could do some a little bit of pulling back. Get rid of some of this. We could gap up, do a little bit of pullback, and then continue up. New all-time high Friday. Entirely possible. We could end the week on some strength. We've had a decent. I mean, from here all the way through today, basically, we had some good strength. Um, let's see. This was Monday. We had some strength here. Tuesday was sideways. Wednesday was mainly a, well, not the whole day, but a chunk of this was a pullback and a bullish today. So we're right back where we were closing on Monday, basically. So flat since Monday, but we did like a V bottom thing. So anyway, that's kind of the framework. That's what I'm seeing going into tomorrow. I'm really curious if we're going to break out all-time high tomorrow. We're right here. Like there's very little room. Um, we can move up and not close above this line. We could very well make an all-time high, hit this line, and then roll over, then reject. I thought for sure this candle here um, would be kind of the start of a bookend. I thought we'd have another bear candle, pull back more, and be headed down. But you can kind of see where we closed Monday, where we closed today, really just flat. What was the closing price? 67.35, and then today was 67.38. So only about a $3 difference between Monday and today's closes. So this is definitely a rest after battle. Just a couple bear candles in between, bookends here. So much, I know I'm just kind of holding the cursor over it, but bookend, bookend with a little bit of a down in between. So it kind of has the letter N, that kind of shape. So that's what I'm seeing there. Again, getting back into the 3 minute of just how today went. Um, I had a hard time kind of seeing trend. You had higher lows as the day went on and kind of holding to the 100. But how did that translate? Like looking at the 67.50. So I looked at the 67.50 because it's far enough out that you could have actually gotten in at a dollar here. But from the open uh, here to then where it was a dollar, um, I gotta move the drawing tool out of the way. There we go. To the next time it dipped, it was just kind of going down, So it was, even though we were kind of riding up the 100, this option was losing value quite a bit until we got over here and it put a nice morning star and shot up. But then that, you could do a couple different things in here. You could say it shot up, it S curved, but then it didn't really get any higher than that, you know. Uh, if I zoom out and just show the comparison of how things are moving on this option versus this is the 67.25 put. This was generally going down all day. I was just making lower highs pretty much all day. Because we were generally going up, but it just this option was not clean in terms of really going up. If we look at a closer option like the 67.25 call, we still weren't going up all day long with the calls. We did kind of inverse of the put, the same strike here, um, mostly flat through here, but then we did dip down a little bit further, and then we continued making relative or higher lows. Excuse me. So there, I don't know. I just had a harder time today getting a good framework. So yeah, you could say that these are. It's really bad. You could say these are all relative lows here, but then we're kind of making some lower highs here. And it didn't really compress because we took that out and then we got right back. And I guess this level, you could say the bodies of these candles kind of held that, but the lower wicks didn't. And there's quite a bit of range here, maybe $2, $3 of range here. Um, so it'd be really hard, obviously not possible to have $100 risk. So you'd want to go a little further out. So it's like, at what point do you go further out? Which option, as we're moving up, which one do you actually pick and be like, okay, hey, that's the one. Sometimes, hey, you pick the option at a high, so 67.30. You can go look at that, but it's, what's the rule? What's the reasoning to say use that one? So if we look at that, we kind of had the same thing in the 67.25 where we put in a low here, relative low, take that out. Um, we retest a little further. Let's see. Yeah, you got even more range. So the body's here around 7. The low would have held at like 5, 5.7. So this would have been buying at 7, stop down at 5, $2 risk. That could have worked. I think we'd have to keep going out further. So here's the 67.35. Going out further to try and find where can you have a really good, you know, retesting kind of this level. So now we're getting further down into this. This hammer's range is more than a dollar. So at what point do you say, okay, my stop can definitely be there? I think after this candle, your stop could be below it. So like 4.5. So you're buying, let's say you're buying at 5, stop down at a low there was 4. I misread that, 3.7 and 4.7. So buying at 4, stop down at 3, that would have worked great for this breakout here. But again, what's the rationale to do that? Um, Probably just the fact that we were putting in some other hammer kind of candles here, and then you can just kind of buy back off that level. So that would have been buying maybe 4.25. Looks like it's closer to 4.2, 4.25. I stopped down further below it, down at like 3.2. So we're down there. So you could have been in this and it would have moved up real quick, up to 8. That would have been a nice gain. And then it came all the way back down, either gave you a second entry or getting the first time there. And then why would you have held out even further? I mean, going for that target, that previous level at 10, nice round number, but it kept going even higher, went up to around 14, 15. So again, it's like, what's going to set that up today? I think maybe if you had some cleaner channels, but I don't know that I had the cleaner channels during the day. It looked like it was kind of slow to get going, didn't really shape up too well. So at least I didn't really see too much until it was later on in the day. So let's do this. Spend another minute or two on this. If I draw a channel in here, what if I just connect like that? I'm looking for what's the high. If I do connect these highs, could that have worked? Could that have been a setup where you buy at the low? Well, you never touch the low again. So 2 points. Basically, you need these 2 points, and then this one to make the other side of the channel. And then if I extend this to the right, we never touch the low again. We do touch the high again. So where's your point to get in? Same with if okay, let's say we grab this low and either this one or this one. Well, if we grab this one, then we got to drop. Come on. I need to move this down, but it's not letting me. There it goes. So this, okay, again, it doesn't give you another place to get in on a third touch. So you can draw this after the fact, but it didn't help you during the day. It gives you some levels that you can be like, hey, look, we ran into this. Hey, look, we ran into this. Maybe don't be buying. This would have been a great place to short it because it just keeps riding up. But again, it's making a high, making a new high, and it didn't come down to the bottom. And it only came down to like the midline. I can turn the midline on. So there you go. It came right down to the midline. So you need the midline. Midline actually helps this one quite a bit. So it kind of stepped through these levels. It didn't really give a clean channel that it bounced back and forth between. The midline it did. So you could redraw the channel and trade the midline. But it wasn't super clean. It would have been great to be shorting here, but why would you short there? Nearly a buy here, definitely a buy here, didn't quite get there. And then it broke out. So you would have had a target here, not necessarily a breakout. And then it rode above this, holding above until later in the day. So again, later in the day, selling, kind of mirroring here, that selling. If you rode that down into the midline. Now, this was a quicker, not that one. This was a quicker move into the midline. This was a quicker move, not quite into the midline. You kind of expect something like that. And instead, it went further sideways. So you'd have to check the options up here to see, okay, how quickly would it have moved? But again, all this is after the fact. I'm not sure. I didn't draw this at all during the day today, but I probably should have. One thing I do like to do, and I didn't do it today too well, was go look at a smaller time frame and see where do these things show up better. So going down to like a 1 minute and just seeing, do we have a better channel or more touches or something that's going to help me? And so this is where, so let's just zoom into part of the day. Okay. You can see if I've got this framework where once I've got this low, so I'm not trading any of this. I'm waiting to line up that low with another low over here, and then I'm able to draw that into a high. And actually, I'm going to adjust this a little bit because I'm down in this level. And instead of right at that high, I'm going to take this down and do a couple more touches. Oh, I'm moving the whole thing. There we go. Is that one better? I just want a couple more touches. So I'm going to have kind of 1, 2, 3 touches, and then I hit that better. But now I'm missing the low here. I miss that level. I don't really like that either. So that's like, do you play off of the body or the close? I think it just wasn't as clean today. I don't have a great lineup with this. So let me go back to just having, oops, turn off the midline. Get the midline back on. Okay, let's say this is what we drew on the 3 minute. We come down to the 1 minute and we look for trades after this point in time. Okay, so we're gonna look for touches. So far, there's actually no touches till right here. So that's your first instance that you could short it over here if you're okay going against, we're at the high. Actually, that's where it would have been a pretty good level to short because it pushed down so quickly. Um, this was like a flash sort of move. It was very quick. The option spiked, and then all of a sudden we were right back up here, and it didn't go down the same. This is where we didn't come back to the same level. So you may have been able to catch this if you were shorting here, but if you tried again here, it actually didn't work, and then it didn't come back down to the midline again to go bullish. So you could have been buying here, quickly moved up, and then like an S curve, and then you really wanted to be in this move because it moved so much more. I'm just looking for like where else since that time. So now I've got towards the end of the day. So setting all that up, you could have shorted here, trying to take it bearish, or shorted here, or both. Could have gone bullish here, but wouldn't really have gone bullish anywhere else. If you tried to short here, it wouldn't have worked. If you tried to short here, it wouldn't have worked. Here would not have worked. Here would not have worked. Probably wouldn't. I mean, it could have because it would have S curved and then this would have worked really well. Would not have worked buying. It actually would have worked shorting. But I think if you had bought here, you probably weren't shorting there. And then that didn't get all the way down to here. So I would say 1, 2, let's not count that as 2. So 2 times would have worked to short, and then 1 time would have worked to buy. All the other times it didn't work. It didn't reject. It didn't follow through, didn't follow through, didn't follow through, didn't follow through. This is why I had a harder time with just drawing this. It's like, where are the setups? So, and then if you took each of these trades, which options are you doing? Are you getting into wash sale issues if you're using the same option because you're losing in each one? Or how much room did you give it? Did you do absolute zero and then it's nearly zero and maybe it got back to even? Maybe. It just depends on the option. So a lot of this today just did not cooperate. It didn't trend really nicely, not off of the channel setups. So just didn't, to me, it didn't look like as good of a day. If you saw something else, it's great. Hopefully you made some money on that. But yeah, it just wasn't setting up for what I was looking for. Um, and that's just unfortunate. So looking for a cleaner move tomorrow. Did have some squeeze going on a couple times today, but um, yeah, it just wasn't as clean of a day for me. So hope this helps. This is Justin. Thanks.